Success isn't just about knowledge, skills, or luck. One often overlooked factor that separates those who rise to the top from those who stay stuck at the bottom is emotional control. When you master your emotions, you no longer react impulsively to failure, get trapped in negativity, or let fleeting excitement cloud your judgment. Instead, you respond with calm, clarity, and strategy. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them, it means understanding them, transforming them into fuel, and using them to move forward with purpose. That is the foundation of real, lasting success. Understanding your emotions, the beginning of personal power. Success begins long before the first milestone. It doesn't start with a paycheck, a promotion, or public recognition. No, success begins with a battle that most people never see. It's a quiet, internal war, fought not in boardrooms or on stages, but in the mind and heart of every individual. And at the center of that battle lies one of the most misunderstood forces in human life, emotion. We often think of emotions as something that just happens to us, like the weather. You're either in a good mood or a bad one. You're either angry or happy. Motivated or drained. But what if I told you that emotions are not random storms? What if I told you that emotions are data, messages from within, and when you learn to read them, you unlock a power that few ever truly access? This is where the journey begins. Before you can control your emotions, before you can harness them and use them as a tool for success, you must first understand them. Think about how many people live at the mercy of their feelings. They wake up and hope the day feels right. If something goes wrong, their entire mindset collapses. A critical comment ruins their confidence. A missed opportunity makes them spiral. They say, "I'm just not feeling it today," and they surrender their potential to a passing emotion. But you are not meant to live that way. Understanding your emotions means refusing to be a slave to how you feel. It means stepping back and observing your internal state with honesty and curiosity. Why am I angry right now? What am I afraid of? What is this anxiety trying to protect me from? Instead of reacting, you reflect. And that simple pause, that space between stimulus and response, is where your personal power is born. Let me be clear, emotions are not your enemy. Emotions are not weakness. In fact, they are one of the greatest gifts you possess. But only if you learn to work with them instead of being controlled by them. Take fear, for example. Most people think fear is something to avoid. They see it as a sign that they should back away. But fear is simply your mind's way of signaling that something important is at stake. Maybe it's your sense of identity. Maybe it's a fear of failure, or rejection, or not being enough. But if you ignore that signal, or worse, run from it, you never get the chance to grow. When you understand fear, you can face it. And when you face it, you transform it. The same goes for anger. Anger often masks deeper emotions, like hurt, shame, or frustration over lost control. If you only react to anger by lashing out or shutting down, you miss the opportunity to dig deeper and discover what truly needs attention. But when you understand the message behind your anger, you can address the root, not just the reaction. Even joy, yes, even positive emotions, deserve your attention. Because understanding what brings you energy, what lights you up, what makes you feel most alive, that's not just good for your spirit, it's essential for your success. You can't build a meaningful life if you don't know what makes life meaningful for you. Understanding emotions is not about judging them. It's not about labeling some feelings as good and others as bad. It's about awareness. Emotional awareness gives you the power to navigate your inner world with intelligence and intention. Without it, you are constantly reacting, driven by impulses, triggered by insecurities, held hostage by old wounds. But with it, you become deliberate. You respond instead of react. You choose your direction, even when the emotional weather is stormy. And here's the truth that few people ever realize: success is emotional. It's not just logical or strategic, it's emotional. Because what stops most people from reaching their goals is not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of opportunity. It's how they handle the emotional challenges along the way. How do you respond to failure? How do you handle criticism? Can you stay calm when others are panicking? Can you keep going when motivation disappears? These are emotional questions, and they require emotional strength. But emotional strength doesn't come from suppressing your feelings. It comes from understanding them. Every successful person you admire, whether in business, sports, the arts, or leadership, has learned to master this inner world. They have built a relationship with their emotions that allows them to stay centered when others fall apart. That allows them to lead with clarity, to speak with confidence, to take risks, to endure setbacks, and to keep showing up, even when it hurts. You can have that same power. But it starts here, with understanding. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? What triggered this? What does this emotion want me to see? You'll be surprised how often the answer will set you free. This is not easy work. It takes practice. It takes patience. And it takes courage, the courage to face yourself honestly. But I promise you, no skill will serve you more in your journey to success than the ability to understand and navigate your own emotions. Because when you understand your emotions, you stop being reactive and start being powerful. You stop chasing success and start attracting it. You stop living on the edge of burnout and begin living from a place of inner strength. This is the beginning of personal power. This is where real success starts. Mastering negative emotions, the leverage to overcome failure. We all have a vision of success, some version of a better life, a higher level, a dream realized. But what most people don't expect on the way there is the emotional turbulence that comes with the climb. Because the higher you aim, the more resistance you will face, not just from the world, but from within yourself. And that resistance often shows up in the form of negative emotions. Fear, doubt, anger, shame, frustration. These emotions are powerful, and if you're not prepared for them, they can break you. They can cause you to quit too soon, settle for less, or sabotage your own progress. But here's the truth most people never learn: negative emotions are not the enemy. In fact, if you learn to master them, they can become one of your greatest levers for growth and success. Let's start with fear, or perhaps the most universal emotion. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. We all feel it. But fear only has power over you when you try to run from it. The more you avoid fear, the stronger it becomes. It starts dictating your decisions, shrinking your comfort zone, and limiting your future. But the moment you stop running and choose to face your fear head-on, something changes. You realize that fear is not a wall, it's a mirror. It's showing you the very thing you need to confront to grow. You want confidence? Walk through fear. You want to lead? Stand in front of fear. You want to grow? Let fear show you where your limits are, and then push past them. Now consider doubt. Doubt whispers in your ear when no one is watching. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail again? Doubt corrodes belief. It eats away at your drive. But doubt, when mastered, becomes a signal, not of your inability, but of your need to prepare. Doubt says, you're stepping into something uncertain, so get sharper, get clearer, and go in stronger. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom in disguise. Then there's anger. Anger often gets a bad reputation. But let's be honest, anger is energy. It's power. And like fire, it can either burn your house down or fuel your engine. The difference lies in how you direct it. Most people either explode outward, hurting others, or implode inward, hurting themselves. But when you master your anger, when you channel it with purpose, it becomes a weapon of focus and determination. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come from anger transformed into fuel. I've had enough of this life. I refuse to stay in this situation. That raw energy, when directed, becomes the fire that burns down excuses and builds new realities. But only if you are in control, not your anger. Frustration is another common emotional obstacle. It shows up when you're putting in effort but not seeing results. It's easy to feel like giving up. But frustration isn't a sign to quit, it's a sign that something needs to shift. Maybe your strategy. Maybe your environment. Maybe your expectations. But frustration, when examined rather than avoided, is a compass pointing you toward a better way. It's the tension before the breakthrough, if you stay in the game long enough to find it. And then we have shame, the most corrosive of all. Shame doesn't just say you failed, it says you are a failure. It attacks your identity. Shame keeps people small, quiet, hidden. It stops them from trying again. But here's the truth, shame only survives in silence. The moment you name it, face it, speak it, it begins to lose its grip. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are who you choose to become, starting now. Mastering negative emotions does not mean pretending they don't exist. It does not mean putting on a fake smile and saying I'm fine when you're not. It means learning to recognize them, learning to listen to them, and then choosing how to respond. Because here's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. Successful people feel the same negative emotions as everyone else, but they don't let those emotions dictate their behavior. They use those emotions. They study them. They turn them into leverage. Let me say this clearly, you will not avoid failure on your path to success. You will be rejected. You will be criticized. You will lose, you will stumble, you will feel like giving up. That's not a sign that you're doing something wrong, it's a sign that you're on the right path. It means you're stretching, growing, evolving. So the question is not, how do I avoid negative emotions? The real question is, what will I do when they show up? Will you run? Will you shrink? Or will you stand in the middle of that storm, feel everything, and choose to rise anyway? You don't become emotionally strong by avoiding pain. You become emotionally strong by learning how to stand in it, learn from it, and move forward through it. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you don't cry, or get scared, or feel discouraged. It means that when those moments come, you don't let them define your future. You don't let them stop your mission. You learn to talk to yourself in the middle of the struggle. You say, I may feel fear, but I am not afraid. I may feel doubt, but I am still committed. I may feel pain, but I will use it. This is the mindset of someone who wins, not just on the outside, but on the inside. So if you're in a season right now where your emotions feel heavy, where fear, frustration, or shame is clouding your vision, know this, you are in the arena. You are doing the work. And those emotions, while uncomfortable, are your greatest teachers. If you learn to master them, they will become the fuel that powers your rise. Negative emotions are not here to destroy you. They are here to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the greatness that is on the other side of your struggle. Learn to master them, and you'll gain an edge most people never develop. Harnessing positive emotions, fuel for purposeful action. There's a common misconception about success, that it's all about grit, discipline, and pushing through pain. While those qualities are undeniably important, they only tell half the story. The other half, the one that most people overlook, is the incredible power of positive emotion. We spend so much time talking about overcoming fear, controlling anger, and silencing doubt. But let's not forget, success is not just about surviving hardship. It's about thriving with passion, joy, excitement, gratitude, and inspiration. These emotions are not just feel-good luxuries, they are essential fuel for meaningful, lasting action. Positive emotions are your inner accelerators. They give you energy when logic would tell you to stop. They connect you to your purpose when things get hard. They make you magnetic, creative, focused. And if you learn to generate and harness these emotions intentionally, you gain a powerful edge, one that will carry you through challenges, lift others around you, and keep you moving toward your vision. Let's begin with passion. Passion is the emotion that breathes life into your goals. It's that fire in your chest when you're doing something that matters. It doesn't mean everything is easy. It doesn't mean you love every task. But when your work is connected to something bigger than yourself, when it aligns with your values and your mission, passion becomes your driver. Some people wait for passion to arrive. They say, "I'll go all in when I feel excited." But successful people know, passion is not found, it is created. It is built through clarity, repetition, and alignment. You choose to fuel it. You choose to wake up each day and remind yourself why you started. That fire, when stoked daily, can keep you going long after others have quit. Then there's gratitude. Gratitude might seem soft in the face of ambition, but don't be fooled. It is one of the most grounding and stabilizing forces in the emotional spectrum. Why? Because gratitude keeps you centered. It keeps you from chasing success out of fear or insecurity. It helps you appreciate the journey, not just the destination. When you're grateful, your mind shifts from scarcity to abundance. You stop focusing on what's missing, and you start recognizing what's already working. That shift is powerful. It gives you emotional resilience, sharpens your perspective, and increases your capacity for joy, even in tough seasons. Gratitude also unlocks a mindset of resourcefulness. When you're thankful, you stop taking things for granted. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You become a better leader, a better teammate, a better thinker, because you're not operating from lack, but from strength. Next, let's talk about enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is contagious. It elevates your energy, sharpens your focus, and attracts people to your mission. When you speak with enthusiasm, people listen. When you work with enthusiasm, doors open. Not because the world owes you something, but because people naturally gravitate toward those who radiate belief. But just like passion, enthusiasm must be cultivated. It doesn't come from external rewards, it comes from within. You build enthusiasm by staying connected to possibility. By celebrating progress. By seeing problems as puzzles, not punishments. When you bring enthusiasm into your daily life, even the smallest actions become meaningful. And then there's hope. Hope is the quiet strength that whispers, "Keep going," when everything around you says quit. It's not blind optimism, it's belief in a future that hasn't yet arrived. Hope keeps you steady in the storm. It gives you the courage to try again. And in a world that often rewards cynicism, hope is a bold, rebellious choice. Successful people protect their hope fiercely. They surround themselves with ideas, environments, and people who remind them what's possible. They don't allow temporary defeat to become permanent discouragement. And when their hope wavers, they reconnect to their why, because purpose restores perspective. One more, pride. Not arrogance, but healthy pride, the kind that says, "I've worked hard for this. I've grown. I'm becoming better." This kind of pride builds confidence, not ego. It allows you to own your progress without needing validation. It allows you to walk into rooms with your head high, not because you're perfect, but because you've earned your place. So how do you harness these emotions on a practical level? First, you must recognize that positive emotion is not random. It can be generated. You don't have to wait for joy, excitement, or belief to show up. You can create them through focus, intention, and repetition. Here's how. Ask better questions. Instead of asking, "What's wrong?" ask, "What's good right now? What am I learning? What's exciting about this challenge?" Visualize your future. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you who already succeeded. Feel what they feel. Think what they think. Bring that emotion into the present. Celebrate wins, big and small. Every time you recognize progress, no matter how small, you reinforce belief. And belief builds momentum. Practice gratitude daily. Write down what you're thankful for, not just in general, but in the context of your growth, your opportunities, your strengths. Surround yourself with energy. People, music, content, whatever lifts your spirit, seek it out. Positive emotion thrives in a nourishing environment. Because here's the truth, when you operate from positive emotion, you become unstoppable. You stop forcing action and start flowing with purpose. You stop pushing from fear and start pulling from vision. You stop surviving and start building. Positive emotion is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the fuel that powers your action, sustains your discipline, and connects your ambition to something deeper. So don't just manage your emotions. Don't just fight off the bad ones. Learn to generate the good ones. Learn to rise each day and step into gratitude, passion, hope, and belief, on purpose. That's how you stay in the game. That's how you lead. That's how you create success that lasts. When others are exhausted, you'll still be moving. When others are bitter, you'll still be inspired. When others give up, you'll still believe. That is the power of harnessing positive emotion, and it's available to you every single day. Emotional stability, the foundation of resilient thinking and decisive action. In every season of success, especially the most challenging ones, there is one trait that quietly determines whether you'll rise or fall: emotional stability. It is not flashy. It is not dramatic. It doesn't shout for attention. But it is the bedrock of strength, resilience, and intelligent action. Emotional stability is the ability to stay calm in chaos. To remain focused when everything is pulling you in different directions. To keep moving forward when fear screams, when pressure builds, and when outcomes are uncertain. Without it, your talent, your ambition, even your intelligence can all be wasted. Because here's what most people don't understand: it's not always the smartest person who wins. It's the most stable. The one who can think clearly under pressure. The one who doesn't crumble when things don't go their way. The one who can make decisions, not out of panic, not out of impulse, but out of purpose and clarity. And in today's world, where distraction is constant, where outrage is everywhere, where anxiety is normalized, emotional stability isn't just an asset. It's a superpower. Let me make this personal. Think about the last time you made a decision while you were overwhelmed: an argument, a missed opportunity, a bad investment, a hasty response. Chances are, it wasn't your best moment. Not because you lacked knowledge or ability, but because your emotions hijacked your logic. And this is where most people fail. They build plans. They set goals. But they never train their emotional system to handle pressure. So when life hits hard, and it always does, they break down. They react instead of respond. They lose sight of the bigger picture. And slowly, they drift away from their potential. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can train for emotional stability the same way an athlete trains for endurance. You can condition your nervous system to stay calm, to stay grounded, to stay centered even when the storm rages. It starts with self-awareness. You must become a student of your own emotional patterns. What triggers you? What drains you? What strengthens you? You can't manage what you don't understand. So begin by observing yourself, without judgment, without denial. Notice when you're reactive. Pay attention when your energy shifts. That awareness is your first defense. Next, you must learn the power of the pause. When emotions rise, anger, fear, anxiety, most people act immediately. They speak too fast. Quit too soon. Overcommit. Or lash out. But the pause, the space between emotion and action, is where your power lives. The most resilient people in the world are not emotionless. They simply don't obey every emotion they feel. They give themselves space. They breathe. They step back. They ask, is this emotion telling me the truth, or just reacting to a moment? In that space, they choose a response, not out of habit, but out of alignment with their long-term vision. Emotional stability also requires mental discipline. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day, a war is being waged between focus and distraction, faith and fear, purpose and panic. And the one who wins is the one you feed most. You must learn to control your focus. Where your focus goes, your emotions follow. If you focus on everything going wrong, you will feel overwhelmed. If you focus on what you can control, you will feel empowered. That's not positivity, it's strategic attention. And then there's emotional detachment, not from people or purpose, but from outcomes. The most stable achievers are deeply committed, but not emotionally dependent on every result. They understand that not everything will go their way. They're prepared to pivot, adapt, learn. When you detach from needing every plan to work perfectly, you gain flexibility. You stop overreacting to short-term losses. You stay locked into the mission, not the moment. That's power. But let's be honest, emotional stability isn't built in comfort. It's built in difficulty. You learn it when things don't go your way. When someone betrays you. When the plan fails. When the deal falls through. That's when your real training begins. So if you're in a storm right now, don't wish it away. Use it. Use it to build the muscle of steadiness. Use it to train your breath, your thoughts, your reactions. Because every storm you master makes you more powerful for the next level. There's a reason great leaders, great performers, great entrepreneurs all seem calm under pressure. It's not because their lives are easy. It's because they have learned this truth: emotionally unstable people can't carry big missions. If you want to build something that lasts, whether it's a business, a career, a legacy, you need inner stability. Let me give you a vision. Imagine walking into chaos with a clear mind. Imagine being misunderstood and not feeling the need to defend. Imagine facing uncertainty and still making bold decisions. Imagine falling down and not spiraling, but standing back up with wisdom. That is emotional stability. That is what makes you unshakable. That is what separates the ones who dream from the ones who build. So how do you cultivate it daily? Breathe deeply, often. Your breath regulates your nervous system. When you control your breath, you control your state. Limit reactive input. Don't flood your mind with noise, drama, negativity, gossip. Protect your emotional bandwidth. Reflect before reacting. Don't let temporary emotion drive permanent decisions. Create rituals of calm. Meditation. Journaling. Prayer. Solitude. You need time to hear your own voice again. Surround yourself with stability. Find people who stay grounded, not people who panic. Energy is contagious, choose wisely. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't need more people who can react. It needs more people who can respond with wisdom. Who can lead with clarity. Who can hold the line when others collapse. That's who you're becoming. And when you master this, when you build your foundation on calm, focused, steady emotional ground, you become the kind of person who not only succeeds, but sustains that success for years to come. The storms will come. The pressure will rise. But you? You'll be ready. You'll think clearly. Decide wisely. Move deliberately. And win, not just because you were smart, but because you were stable.